She's beauty, brains, and bold ambition. Peyton Lewis, Miss Florida USA 2024, is more than a title, she's a movement.
Born and raised in Orlando, Peyton's been competing in pageants since she was 14, but 2024 was her year to shine on the national stage.
As a successful luxury real estate agent, she now uses her influence to empower women to rise as leaders and business owners.
She's got style, substance, and a heart for service. But this episode goes deeper. We're talking dreams, discipline, and what it really takes to show up when it matters most.
She's the definition of iconic, and this is her story.
My name is Peyton Lewis, and I am an icon.
Miss Florida USA, Peyton Lewis. It's finally happened. I'm so excited to have this podcast with you.
Thank you so much for offering me this opportunity and reaching out to me. I'm so excited to share with you my story and honestly just get this done with you guys.
Absolutely. So obviously, I think for many people, they see the crown, they see the sash, they see the accolades, and yet there's a story behind you even getting to this. So what was it for you that inspired you to even want to be in this whole world of being a Miss World, or Miss World.
That's okay. Miss
I'm
Florida.
speaking it out into the universe.
Yes, you are.
It's okay.
Miss Florida USA 2024.
Yeah.
So it goes all the way back to my childhood. My mother was actually Miss Minnesota Teen USA back in the 80s, and she kept her crowns and her sashes, and I'm one of 5 girls, so obviously we had a lot of fun playing with them. Me specifically, I was kind of drawn to them to the point where if Halloween came around or if there was like a costume party, I was always pretending to be a pageant queen. I would watch them every year with my sisters and my mom. It would be Miss Universe, Miss USA, and I kind of always told myself in the back of my head I really wanted to try not only be like my mom, but try to be like the girls that I saw on the TV. I loved how they got dressed up and they would wear these beautiful gowns and their hair and makeup was done. But as I got older, I realized it was more than that. It was what they were doing for their community and how they were, not only carrying themselves, but representing their family and where they came from. So I thought it was just so beautiful, and it was so much more than the surface level, how you look. It's deeper. It's what's on the inside, and making connections with people, not only across your state, but across the world or the country. So that's when I got into pageantry. It was back in high school when I was 15 years old, and I competed only twice before winning the title of Miss Florida USA, and I took some time off in between. It was about 7 years before winning last year that I took some time to myself, and I figured out who I was and decided to come back, and then I won. So
Wow.
That's incredible.
Many people that listen to this aren't going to be as in tune with the Miss Florida scene or the Miss USA scene. And I want to ask a question that goes more so in depth of what else is behind Miss Florida or Miss USA or behind these pageants? Because you just said not just the beauty, but what else really goes into that?
yeah, so it's a lot of community service, I feel. It's a lot of giving back. It's a lot of bringing awareness to the causes in the nonprofits that you believe in and you want people to know about. It's about being just a good, responsible, not only person in your community, but somebody that the younger kids can look up to, the younger generations. As far as the work that goes into being a title holder, it's every single day. It's how you're talking to people. It's how you're carrying yourself. It's how you're walking, how you're eating, and even to the point of how many days a week are you working out to show that you are physically fit and you care for yourself. Because I've always said this, but you can't really care for others until you've really taken care of, your body. So there's a ton of work that goes into the pageants, and so it's nice to bring awareness to it because a lot of people really don't know what it takes.
Mm-hmm. So this has really been kind of a family thing, as you mentioned, and how involved was your mom in your journey as an adult getting into these pageants?
How involved was she? Well, it's amazing because, there are some pageant holders, pageant contestants that their moms really push them to be in pageants. And for me, it was something I truly wanted to do on my own. Not something that she put me in because she wanted me to follow her footsteps. So she was very proud to see that I wanted to be like her all on my own. And so she's just been very supportive. You know, my mother is an absolute angel. In everything that I set my mind to, she's there to say that you can do it. You just have to keep putting your faith in God and just know that if it's His will for you, it will be done. And that's the mindset I've always had for everything that's happened in my life.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know when it comes to like athletes where their parents played sports and they're trying to play the same sport as a kid now, do you have that kind of same sense of like you have to be really, really good or extra good? Or is there like any pressure on you since your mom has done this previously?
It wasn't so much pressure. It was more so inspiration. It was, I'm inspired to try this. And if it works out for me, I know it's something God wanted me to do. I'm very faith-based. I would say, very God-centered. And I try to live my life in every aspect in a way that represents and respects Him. And so I knew that if it was a blessing that He wanted me to have, He would make it work. So there wasn't pressure. It's just the belief that everything that is supposed to be for me will just simply work out effortlessly.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But you've definitely put in the work. So like, you know, one of the things we've had with many people who are in many spheres, as I say, you know, God's will, it's so true. But at the same time, like, you have to put in the effort and the work. So what does it look like for you when it comes to like, so you had this sense from God that you wanted to go into. You saw your mom in her footsteps, and you're like, I'm going to do the same thing. What did you have to do to get prepared for this? Because I'm sure there's a lot to it.
Absolutely. So, well, first and foremost, when I had that little intuitive thought at the beginning of last year to compete for Miss Florida again, the first thing that I decided to do was reach out to pageant coaches. And I had talked to a few, and I really wanted to find somebody that I really aligned with, who understood what it is I was working for, and somebody that really made me not only feel special, because if you work with a certain coach, they might coach a million other people, and I didn't want to really feel like a number. I wanted somebody who was really going to put in their time and effort. And even in this time, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to compete yet. But that's when I met with Peter Morales.
And he is here in the house.
He is here in the house. He has been one of my biggest supporters, and he's really changed my life in so many ways. The way that I think, you know, helping me with all my pageant stuff, because this wasn't something that I had done year after year to where I really knew what it was going to take to win. And he really did coach me. And so he actually got me to want to make the decision. He was like, I have this belief in you. And it was sometimes a belief that was so much, a little bit more than how I believed in myself. And you know, I would say a big part of it was him, and him telling me what I needed to do, how I was supposed to walk. It was him coming with me to the gym, practicing my walk, recording it for me, telling me what I needed to fix, and then me doing it on my own every single day. So it's just like that practice.
Wow.
And I mean, you're literally getting on stage, and you're so outward facing. So tell me, really go into depth of how your confidence was boosted from a coach, because till recently I didn't really know that coaching in pageants was a thing. To be completely honest. So how has that helped boost your confidence overall?
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because a lot of people is like, well, I didn't know that you needed a coach for pageantry. But I'm like, well, some of the best athletes in the entire world have coaches, even Michael Jordan. Yeah. So of course, if you want to be good at something, you need somebody who knows that industry or that aspect of whatever you're trying to achieve a little bit more than you do. The way it was with Peter is he helped me with my mindset. He helped me pick out the clothes that I was going to wear. Again, like, he helped me with my walking. We would go to my gym and spend hours in front of a mirror with music playing, just working on my walk and my turns and how I was supposed to stand on stage. And then it was up to me to do it when he wasn't around, to continue practicing until I felt comfortable enough. And I think that when you practice so often, there grows a confidence within you to where you know, like, this is something I know I can do like the back of my hand or with my eyes closed. And then when you're finally up on that stage, it will come so naturally to you. So just like anything, like, practice makes perfect.
So one of the things that I know with a lot of pageant stuff, I mean, beyond the walking and beyond the styling and beyond knowing your angles and knowing how to do a proper photo shoot, it's really the public speaking component. And obviously you're very good at public speaking.
Thank you.
Like right now, I'm like, wow, she's so good. Has that always come natural to you, or is that something you also had to develop?
I think it's something that you develop. I started working very young. I started working at the age of 14 years old. I was a receptionist at a hair salon for 5 years, actually. And I really challenged myself. From a young age, I wanted to be an actress and a model, and I thought that was the route my life was going to go. And I always pictured myself being somewhere where I was going to inspire people. I always say I aspire to inspire. And I know that the main way to do that is through your speaking. It's the only way to really grasp the attention of people because they hear you. And I wanted it to just be beyond my looks, especially with being in pageantry. I wanted to open my mouth and have people say, wow, she really is speaking from the heart. And, I want to continue listening to her. So for me, I practice all the time, even in conversations with my mom on the phone. I act like I'm doing a podcast sometimes. And then it goes, to working with Peter, answering certain questions in a way where it's my tonality and my pitch are perfect. I think it also goes into real estate. A lot of the listing appointments that I go to, I'm constantly being interviewed to work with people. And it's kind of to a point where I have to sell myself. And if I can eloquently and clearly explain how it is I'm going to help them, I know that I'm more likely to have them hire me as their real estate agent. So I really practice in all forms of my life to just be a better speaker. And at one point, I really wasn't. So it does, again, practice makes perfect.
And you talk about, you said it's all about how you present yourself. Do you find that that maybe there might have been, well, first of all, I don't want to guide that question too much, but do you think there's a stigma around people that are in pageants?
I don't think so much anymore because I feel like a lot of the girls who are in it really clearly explain what it is they're doing in their communities, showing that, hey, look, I'm more than just my looks. I am beauty, I am brains. A lot of them have college degrees, masters, PhDs. Some of them are pilots. I mean, I have met the most successful women that I know through pageantry. And so I really feel like we have come out and really talked about, it's more than looks in pageantry. It's like we are the trailblazers. We're really making a difference. Like, we're going out there and we're doing it.
So with that being said, too, I know that for you already, so much of this foundationally was your philanthropic output, where you wanted to give back to the community. What are some of the things that are important to you in terms of the public service that you are already doing and want to continue to do?
There's so many. I've always had a giving heart. I actually graduated high school with over 400 community service hours just because. A few of them bringing awareness to human trafficking. I did cleanups along some of the corridors around Orlando, just because this is my city, this is my hometown. I want to take care of it, and I really want to help the people who are living here because not only does it help them, but it makes me feel good. So, but I've had the blessing of working with a few nonprofits that I didn't even know about in Orlando while being Miss Florida USA 2024, like Hands Up Orlando. They bring awareness to homelessness around the Central Florida area. Those who are like on the verge of becoming homeless, they have an office in downtown Orlando. And a few others where I am able to, relate personally to the nonprofit organizations and what they're bringing awareness to. Like my younger sister at one point had epilepsy, so working with an epilepsy nonprofit, as well as it's called Spine Hope. They raise funds for spinal fusions, and my youngest sister had that. So I try to give back to certain organizations that have directly reflected or related to me in my life, and it might not be for me, but maybe my family and the community. So,
are those values something that you were brought up with as a child?
Yes, absolutely. Family is everything, and giving back. You're gonna get you're gonna receive what you get. And so it's always treat people how you want to be treated. And I've always had a giving heart, and I know that eventually it will return to me. Not that I do it expecting anything back, but it's just because it makes me feel better. I come from a very loving family, and I have amazing parents, and they've shown me what being a good person is. And so I try to give that out. I pay it forward.
That's amazing. Now, I know that you mentioned that you had, gone into the pageant world, and then you spent, what was it, 7 years?
7 years,
Which
yeah.
is a long break.
Yes.
And then you came back in, and you said something that was, I think, really important, was that you had discovered yourself or found yourself in that time period.
Yeah.
What was that journey for you?
Well, 7 years ago when I last competed for Miss Florida USA, I was 19 years old. That year, a 28-year-old won. She knew who she was, what she wanted to do with her life, how to clearly and eloquently explain that to not only the judges but the audience, and had the confidence of being on stage. And after me not winning, not even making it as a semifinalist, I said, I need to take the time to figure out who I am, like who Peyton Lewis is. I need to have the confidence. If I go up on that stage, I can clearly show them I have so much confidence in myself that I could go to Miss USA and represent this beautiful state, the way that I would want to and the way that they would be proud of. And I had just graduated high school, so I knew I needed to, graduate college and figure out whatever my career was. At that time, I had a thought of being in real estate, but obviously didn't make the move just yet. So over those 7 years was personal development, a lot of it, reading more books, working on my public speaking, working on my walking, working on my diet and my health and how I took care of myself, because that's important and it reflects. It was graduating college, getting my real estate license, really becoming an agent that is, I would say, above average. I would consider myself very successful for, how long I've been in real estate at this point. So I knew that if I was going to come back, I needed to be a woman who was strong enough to answer those questions about who I was. And honestly, sell myself in a way to where they're like, this is our next Miss Florida USA. She's going to represent us at Miss USA, and we think that she could possibly win. And so I did. I took all that time. I went back when I felt ready. And obviously with the right coach too, it helps.
Absolutely.
When it comes to things like this, when I talk to people, I always find that there's a lot of pressure surrounding things like this. And I'd love to know how you, if you feel that pressure, how do you handle that? Because you're so outward, you're in the community, you're always doing things, you have your philanthropy side, but everyone's always got their eyes on you, it seems. So how does that feel, and just how do you handle that?
I think it goes back to the personal development over the last 7 years. I really cared for my mental health, and in a way where journaling, meditating, praying became a staple in my everyday habit. I make sure that I make time for it. So even when I'm feeling overwhelmed, which I feel like everybody does, no matter what level you are, how many eyes are on you, especially with society and Instagram and social media, it's so easy to feel caught up or overwhelmed with a bunch of different things. And I lay that all on a piece of paper. As a matter of fact, my thing that I do that makes me feel like I go to therapy, but it's not therapy, is journaling in a sauna. I spend 15 to 20, sometimes 30 minutes in the sauna, but I make sure I journal in there. And when I get out, I feel like a brand new person. I'm laying everything on there. I'm laying out my intentions, my prayers, how my day went, how I'm feeling. If something happened that I had no control over, I'm just releasing it on the page. And then I'm praying to God that it's something that I can, mentally overcome, or something that won't drag me down, but I can kind of learn from and move forward with. So.
One of the things that you brought up was a lot of the pressures from social media. Image is a big deal for a lot of people, and obviously you're in a very image-centric role right now, but you're also a woman of faith. And I know that there's been that is a double-edged sword, because you can use the position that you're in such a way that it honors your values, but at the same time it can be used a different way. How have you navigated those waters?
That's a great question. I feel like I've tried to do so very intentionally, watching what I post, how I'm posting it, what I'm writing, because I want my brand to align. I am a woman of faith. I am in the beauty industry. However, for me, I think it's being as genuine as possible, especially when it comes to what's on the inside. What you see is what you get. Exactly how I am with you right now is how I am with friends and family behind closed doors. So for me, it's just about truly being somebody for people to look up to in all aspects, you know, whether the door is open, the camera is on or off. And then obviously just watching what I post. You know, there are like filters and edits on my photos, which
I'm a personal brand coach. That is what I do for a living.
and I feel like you kind of have to nowadays, especially like being like Miss Florida. I'm in like pageantry, and that's just kind of like our niche. But, you know, not posting maybe like so much bikini photos or like, you know, so much skin, because I am a woman of faith. I want to be a little bit more conservative. And I don't want people to maybe like say that I'm like going against, you know, the other. So
it's like the public eye thing, right?
Right,
So,
yeah.
I mean, in all cases, you know, one of the number one things I talk about in terms of personal branding as a coach is authenticity sells.
Right.
And your brand is, these are some of your core values. And I'm asking a question in between.
No, go for it. That's great.
And you've kind of said this along the lines, but who is Peyton authentically? If you could sum that up in 2 or 3 sentences.
2 or 3 sentences. Oh my goodness, this is a challenge. I would say Peyton is a God-centered, loyal, loving, supportive friend, daughter, girlfriend. She is somebody who really cares for others. She's empathetic, and she works really hard to succeed in life and in her career. And she wants to make the biggest impact. So when she leaves this world one day, people have positive things to say about her.
Wow.
That was a great answer.
It wasn't a challenge at all.
No,
It felt like a
Wow.
challenge, but you know, sometimes things just flow, and I'm just gonna go with it.
That's so good.
No,
So
it was an
good.
amazing answer. So, young people right now in general, I feel like have a lot on their plate, a lot on their shoulders, period. And I want to relay this specifically to young women who are, I know, already looking up to you and are inspired by you. What would you tell a young woman right now who wants to follow a similar path but is really struggling with the issues that social media puts on us, that everything, image, like there's just so much that women have to deal with, I feel like. What would you say to them?
I would say you can't really get over that feeling or fear until you truly know who you are on the inside. And that might take months of you not being on social media. That might take a few months of you really taking time for yourself to figure out what it is exactly you appreciate in life, what you value, what you love, and what you want, not only for yourself now, but for the future. There was a few months, you know, before I had competed for Miss Florida USA, and in the 7 years, that I would delete my Instagram completely off my phone, like the app, and just take time to really love myself and do things for me, not because I was about to make an Instagram post for it. And as my relationship got stronger with God, and I tell all the girls who do have, you know, a little inkling of belief that if you can get closer to God, your creator, then you're going to feel so much peace within, you know, and that peace is going to overflow within you to where you're not worried about what people are thinking when you post something. You're not worried about what the next person is achieving or how much money they have in their bank account. And, you know, what you currently don't have right now, you are trusting in the process that he has and the plan that he has for you. And you know that eventually it's going to work out in your favor. You just have to trust him and believe in yourself. And I believe that starts with knowing who you are and really like diving deep, like figuring out what, you know, hurt you in the past and how you can grow from that, and really, really loving yourself, because you can't love anyone else until you love who you are.
That's so good.
Yeah.
It is so true too. We always go inward, outward
Right.
with effectiveness, but also upward, you know, as you're talking upward, inward, outward.
Yeah.
And so that's incredible. Talking a little bit about, you know, we see the visuals, right? You're getting crowned, you get the sash.
Yes.
How did you feel when it finally happened?
Oh my goodness. I watched the crowning moment over and over again, actually, because you see the shock on my face. I'm kind of like standing there like, did that just happen? And it's funny because I was telling Brianna Washington, she was the first runner-up, backstage, you know, I'm just happy that I got top 5, you know, like I feel so blessed, like from competing 7 years ago, not even making it as a semifinalist, to not even doing a pageant in between all this time. I'm just happy to be here. And she was saying the same thing. So it was shock, it was excitement, it was pure joy. It was bliss. I would say the best word to explain it was bliss. And especially as the confetti fell down and I turned to look at my family and all of them were crying. And, you know, my amazing dad, he kind of prepped me. He was like, you know, there is only going to be one winner, Pate. You know, I know that you really want to do this, but just go in knowing that it's not going to change who you are. Whether you win or whether you lose, you know, because I think that I was kind of like the underdog. Like I had just come in, I hadn't really done pageants that much, and no one was really expecting me to do maybe like a good job. And I surprised everyone, even myself, but I knew that that God was in that moment. And I actually have like a little bit of a testimony, so I would like to share it with you guys. But during the pageant weekend, so just me as a person, I love music. And during pageant weekend, I did pick a soundtrack that I listened to throughout. So the morning of the crowning day, I was listening to the soundtrack of Prince of Egypt.
I love that.
One of the main songs was from Mariah Carey, and Whitney Houston was When You Believe. And I was listening to that as I was getting my hair and makeup done that morning around like 5 a.m. over and over again, because it's like when you believe, beautiful things can happen is basically like just the overall theme of the song, right? And during the top 5, there was like a little bit of an intermission where, you know, they were kind of like using up some time before we came out to answer our final question. And When You Believe by Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston started playing. And it was in that moment I almost had like a little bit of, all right, God, is this you? Like, are you telling me I'm about to win right now? Because out of all of the songs that they could have chosen, especially like from a religious movie.
And it's kind of from a while ago, too, that song.
And from 1997. Yeah. It was like, okay, I got the goosebumps backstage. And it was in that moment I was like, all right, well, I might have this because that's just too random. But to overall sum up that moment, it was bliss. It was amazing, and I wish I could have that feeling more often.
Oh, that's so good. I love the lyrics of that song. You know, there can be miracles when you believe.
Yes, yeah.
When hope is frail. What is the next line of that?
When hope is frail, it's time. It's hard to like leave or carry on.
It's hard to,
you know, it's one of those ones.
Miracles when you believe.
Okay.
The hope is frail.
When hope is frail, yeah.
It's hard to be.
Yeah, it's like hard to do something. Yeah.
It's hard.
Keep going. Keep going. We don't need to go monetize. Keep going.
You know what? It's funny because I'm usually so good with lyrics, and I think I'm like going blank right now. And it's one of the songs I listen to all the time. Like anything. I mean, not that it's Hans Zimmer, but even Hans Zimmer too. Not that there's much lyrics in those, but I'm a music buff, so.
I love it. It's so good.
So looking back at your time,
yes.
After everything you've done so far, because you still got a lot to do, but what do you think right now is the biggest lesson you have learned from everything you've experienced?
Wow. You know what? I don't know if this is, I mean, I guess I'll say it. So I guess everything is not all that it's cracked up to be. And I say that because growing up, and I achieved something that my childhood self always wanted, right? The younger version of myself. But growing up, I wanted to be an actress and I wanted to be a model. And through this process, I got to walk the New York Fashion Week, which was, I would say, one of the biggest events that I got to attend and be a part of. And
what brand was it?
That is a great question. It was like Dejana. I walked for a few different designers. Okay. It was for one single show. I wish it was like Marc Jacobs or something. Right? It wasn't that big, but it was a New York Fashion Week.
I love it.
But I realized in that process, and you know, at one point that is something that I had wanted to do, and I realized how blessed I am to have gone down the path that I did. Or I guess to better answer your question, instead of not everything is cracked up all that it's cracked up to be, it's more so God puts you in the positions where you're supposed to be, period. So I got to experience that, and I realized, man, I would be miserable if I was doing this. Like if I was a full-time model and I had to kind of like work and go to casting calls and it not be secure, And then like sitting back, I'm like, no, I'm in an actual career. Like I'm my own boss, and it's a career that can be very lucrative depending on how hard you work. And I'm just very blessed to be where I am in real estate, and to know all that I do, and to have not taken that path that could have been really dark, because sometimes the modeling and the entertainment industry can be very, I don't know, it can be very dark. So I'm very happy with everything that's happened in my life. And I kind of learned that throughout this process, because as I'm achieving everything I once wanted, I'm just seeing the truth behind it all. But it's also bringing me so many more opportunities. So I'm very grateful. But still, I'm in the right place, you know.
I think both of those answers are wonderful. And the first one you said, it's not all it's cracked up to be, especially so just because of the fact of the age that we're in.
Yeah.
And we're in an age where everyone is wishing they had something else.
Exactly.
They're wishing they had more.
Yes.
And I do it all the time. I'm guilty of that myself. So that's such an important lesson for people to hear. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that really struck me, we were talking in the parking lot, and I said, you know, what's next for you? Because here you've accomplished something that a lot of women probably fantasize about wanting, and even the ones who really try hard to do it, they don't get there, and you did, and it's kind of like, okay, what's the ultimate for you? And your answer really actually doesn't surprise me, knowing you better, but it does surprise me, but I love it. I loved your answer. I don't know if you want to share that.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, you know, winning the title of Miss Florida USA, you know, everyone asks, like, what is next for you? And I realized as I get older, and I was telling David this, I'm like, I don't know if it's just because like I'm a female and I'm getting older, but I really think about having, you know, a family and being a wife. And obviously I am somebody who's very focused on her career right now, and real estate is my main bread and butter, and I want to really make a name for myself in this industry. But I'm also so excited to just be like a God-fearing wife, and to bring children into this world that know about Jesus. And like that to me, it just makes me so happy. But of course I am not ready for that until I'm financially ready to take on, you know, kids, however many that may be. I'm one of 5, and I got to see how
5 girls.
5 girls, yes.
I love that. I'm a dad of 4 girls. So.
Yes. So I saw firsthand how hard my parents had to work for everything that not only did we need, but we wanted. And, you know, so for me, it's just about like becoming financially free, really setting myself in a great place in my career, and then starting a family, and, you know, doing that beside the love of my life, and, you know, starting a family and doing the things I love.
And you talked about your career, but what, I guess between the pageants, between real estate, between philanthropy, what is your true absolute passion right now?
That is a great question. It's between real estate. Right now I'm really focused on luxury real estate. I love showing beautiful houses, and it can be very rewarding. And then I'm also very passionate just about bringing more awareness to God, and bringing more women to God, because I know how He's helped me in my life and all the grace He's shown me, just with everything that I've been blessed with. So I actually started a Bible study group for women entrepreneurs on Instagram, and I host a Bible study every single week. And I think for me, that is so fulfilling. It like almost gives me purpose, because if I can talk about somebody who can really move mountains, then I mean, I can only imagine what blessings are going to come into my life. And how many girls have thanked me for being in this group and for doing this Bible study, and how it's changed their life. It can almost make me emotional, because like I am the change that I want to see in the world, and I'm actually doing it. So right now that's my passion, along with just doing real estate stuff.
I love that. Now, as you know, this podcast is called Iconic Insights, and really there are a couple questions we almost always ask our guests, and one of them I'm going to ask you is, it really comes down to seeing yourself as the icon. Okay, I know that a lot of times people don't think they are, but obviously young girls are looking up to you, and first off, how was that when things maybe shifted that direction for you? Like, whoa, I won, I got the crown, and now people want my autograph, they want to see me, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But also, what are the things that we talked a little about this from the social media standpoint, but what are you intentionally trying to instill in these young girls?
Well, I will first say I don't think it really kicked in that I was Miss Florida USA until I had gotten recognized at an event I wasn't even wearing my crown and sash at. I think that was like the moment where I was like, oh, wow, like I made it. You know, like usually they don't really know who I am unless I'm walking around with this big diamond crown on my head and the sash that says Miss Florida USA. So it wasn't until that moment I was like, wow, like that was pretty cool. But as far as what I want the young girls to know, it's that they can do anything they set their mind to. You know, at one point I wrote down, and I'm pretty sure I still have it on like a vision board that I wrote years and years ago, will win Miss Florida USA. Like I wrote it down, I visualized it, I really did all that I needed to in order for it to like manifest into my life, and I just trusted the process. But if you really believe in yourself, like you can make it happen. You just when you believe, like you just have to believe, and those miracles can happen, and it's so beautiful. So I would really just tell them to believe in themselves, and like just don't think it's crazy. And it's a trending thing on TikTok right now. It's like be delulu, like delusional. You know, think those delusional thoughts that you think are crazy. Like if you want to be a trillionaire, keep saying that, and you know what? You might become a billionaire one day. You know, so it's like, just believe it. You could do anything if you really set your mind to it.
Now, I know there's going to be realistically some young women that watch this, and maybe they're in a home that doesn't have as much of those. I guess they're not as motivated by their parents or their peers to just believe in, that it'll happen. So realistically, what are some of those actual steps that they can take to do that'll help set them up for success? Because these are women that, like I said, might really want to follow in your footsteps. What can they really do?
I would start off by, really watch who you surround yourself with. And I know sometimes we can't change who our family is, but really focus on your friendships. If your friends are not inspiring you, then it might be best to just focus on yourself. And in that time of you focusing on yourself, read those personal development books. Watch those YouTubers that talk about personal development and are very positive. For a while, in those 7 years that I competed and I really focused on my personal development, that's what I did. To the point where I said goodbye to friendships that I knew weren't serving me and were only bringing me down and keeping me in an environment that I knew I wasn't going to level up in or succeed in. And I watched, very famous YouTubers who have succeeded and are motivating and teach me new things that my environment maybe couldn't teach me. I'm the first entrepreneur in my family. So I've really learned how to be my own boss, and almost to the point of, I'm almost helping my family with their financial mindset because I'm showing them what's possible, not only through who I'm surrounding myself with, but what I have accomplished. So it's sometimes you have to kind of seek out those people and use your resources. We have so many opportunities here to where we have YouTube and TikTok, but surround yourself, read the books, and then eventually start shifting your time to places that is serving you. Like go hang out at golf clubs. I would, go eat lunch at maybe like a little bit more of expensive restaurant, but it's leveling up my mentality. Like I deserve to be here, and I will be here one day having a steak and not a salad because it's only $25. You know what I mean? So it's little things like that I feel like has almost shifted my mindset into bringing into my life all that I have now and will continue to get, because I know I'll get there. But
along those lines, there are many women who don't fit maybe the stereotype of what the world says this is the beauty or the considered beautiful, and they'll look at models or they'll look at beauty pageants and they go, I could never do that. And yet maybe and I work with a lot of women who have insecurities as a brand coach. And what do you have to say about beauty?
Well, first off, I think that everyone is insecure. Even the model you're looking at on the magazine or the one in the commercial, they have something that they don't like about themselves. And it goes back to really loving who you are, because God made everyone so perfect, right? And
Love that.
we might look at someone else on social media and say, well, why don't I have that? But you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. Because I say to everyone, social media, people are showing you what they want you to see. So never wish that you were somebody else. Really love who you are. You know, what makes you unique. And something that helped me was I wrote specific things that made me feel different. Like I am loving, I am caring. And sometimes it's not my physical features, but what's inside. Because beauty fades, what's inside doesn't. And it was when I truly loved who I was on the inside that my confidence on how I looked on the outside was like, you know what, I'm not too bad. You know, like I might be different or I might look different. And I think even the girls who might feel like they're not that beautiful, you are beautiful. You just have to find those specific features that you love. And sometimes it's what's inside. You know, you might have a loving heart. You might be a great caregiver, whatever it is, like find those things and use that.
You know, that is so true. And I often, and kind of piggybacking on that, I really think that like when you love yourself, as you were saying, and you believe you are beautiful inside, you are beautiful externally.
Yeah.
There are so many people that I worked with over the years who are like, I'm not a swan, I'm an ugly duckling. And I'm like, no, you are a swan. And then they finally realize they're a swan, and all of a sudden their whole lifestyle changes. Even their physical, the way they dress and the way they present themselves changes. And so that's really, really, really important.
Absolutely. It's an aura. Like when you really feel it, like there's an energy that you're giving out to the point where, I mean, people are going to look at you and think you're attractive because of your energy. You know, if you're a happy person, you're going to attract more people into your life. That's just it. And if you might attract more people like, well, she's beautiful, you know, just because you are a happy person. So I totally agree with you in what you just said.
So good.
As we get closer here to the end, I wanted to lighten it up a little bit and ask, are pageants really as crazy as they seem on some of the reality shows that they have out right now?
You want to know what? I have never had any bad experiences, thank God. I have heard horror stories, but luckily I've been, you know, able to interact with a lot of amazing women, and everyone has been so great. But I'm sure that if you were to ask someone else, they might have a different experience. But
when the cameras come out, they get crazy.
So far, so good. I like I said, I give out what I expect to get back. So maybe they might be behaving around me. I don't know.
There are so many stereotypes when it comes to the pageant world. I mean, I think like Miss Congeniality, like the jokes of like, Gracie Lee Freeman.
I love that movie. By the way, I watched that before I won Miss Florida USA.
It's so fun. I love that movie too. But what are the things that you enjoyed most about the pageant world?
That is also a great question. I love getting dressed up. Like that is so much fun for me. Like just to have like a hair and makeup artist like there, and I'm just sitting there on my phone and I get to relax. I feel like a celebrity in a way. But I would say my favorite thing is the girls that I've met. I feel like I have met some really lifelong friends, and I feel like I've waited a really long time for good friendships. Just because of, you know, what I've always believed in and who I want to surround myself. I hold myself to a very high standard. And I want my friendships to also reflect that, because you are who you hang out with. You know, they say your net worth is your network, you know. So for me, I try to be very specific with, you know, those people. And I feel like I've met some really, really amazing women. And it's to the point where it's like, for Miss USA, I made some friendships I know that will last. And I'm like, I don't even care I didn't win Miss USA, because I got to leave with some pretty cool girlfriends. So I would say that that's been my favorite part so far. And then obviously just giving back to the community and having the voice that I do to where people want to listen and people like truly care what I'm talking about. So that's been amazing. And honestly, I think this is just the beginning for me. You know, it's opened up a lot of doors that I'm very grateful opened.
Yeah, so good.
Peyton, how would you define an icon?
Oh, I think this is a great question. I would define an icon as somebody who inspires others and anyone. An icon is somebody who really is a leader and is passionate about not only themselves but the ones around them. I think that's iconic. Just somebody who cares for more than just themselves, and gives back without expecting anything in return.
So good.
Wow.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Peyton, we have been absolutely thrilled to spend this time with you. I think we're going to hopefully possibly be there with you as well as you pass the crown on to the next winner for 2025. And I
Yes.
just, it's been an honor,
Yeah,
really.
it really
And
has.
you really
you.
are an inspiration. You are an icon.
Thank you.
And I really do believe this is just the beginning for you. I think there's a lot more in store that's going to continue to put you in that spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys. This is an incredible opportunity, and it gives me the floor to speak about, my experiences and my testimony, share my testimony with others and inspire them, aspire to inspire. So, yes, hopefully I will see you guys at Miss Florida USA 2025, where I'll crown my successor. It's bittersweet, but thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Perfect.